Hi friends, hope you are doing well. So today I'm going to answer a question from a viewer, and this is about what is a good laptop to get if you are going to college and you are going to study a STEM discipline, that is a discipline involving science, technology, engineering or mathematics. And I would also mention that nowadays economics and business have also entered into the STEM discipline, because all these disciplines involve more and more mathematics, and in the end you have to do some kind of mathematical modeling. You have to solve certain type of equations and do visualization and so on, and so all these require that you have a good laptop. So let us look at some of the specifications, and I'm going to give you some minimum specifications, and then if you have more money to spare you can get the higher specification also, which I'm going to mention, and I'm going to split this video into 8 points. So let's say the number 1 point is the CPU, or the central processing unit, which is the heart, or maybe we should say the brain of your computer. Now here the best recommendation at this point is to get the Intel Core i7 processor or the AMD Ryzen 7. So these are both competitive processors, and these processors will ensure that you can run most of the software. The computer will be reasonably fast and so on. Now if you have extra money, you can go for the i9 processor, or you can go for the Ryzen 9. That's not necessary at this point when I'm making this video in 2023, but certainly more is always better. But do remember that the price increases non-linearly as you go from the i5 to the i7 to the i9 processor. So essentially there is a big jump from the i7 to the i9. So if you can manage with i7, you can go with i7 at this time. Now the next issue is the graphics processing unit, which is also known as the GPU. Now this is very important because more and more people have to do some kind of editing in the computer, as well as you may decide to do some gaming activity. So this is certainly important, and you may even end up doing some game programming. So if you want to be prepared for any high intensity graphic workouts, for example you are doing computational fluid dynamics software or some kind of graphics and design software, then there are two GPUs which are good here. The one you can go for is NVIDIA GeForce RTX, or you can go for the AMD Radeon. Now both of these are good, and what is generally the situation is that the AMD processors are going to be somewhat cheaper, whether you are going for the GPU or the CPU. So again you have to balance in the cheapness versus brand name here. I generally think both these processors are good, whether they are coming from AMD or NVIDIA. Also the AMD Intel chips are both good as far as the CPU is concerned. So you can look at the price estimates and see as to which one you want to go for. So there are of course many people who prefer to go for the Intel and NVIDIA because these are more well-known brands and famous brands. Now the number 3 point is RAM, and you will need 16 GB RAM at a minimum for many of the software applications nowadays. Now if you can afford to, you can go for 32 GB of RAM, but I would say that at this time you can make do with 16 GB of RAM, but don't go below that. Now the number 4 issue is storage, and here I would say you should get 1 terabyte of storage, and if you need more storage you can always get a portable storage from any of the companies such as SanDisk and so on. Now generally it's always recommended that you get the SSD hard drive, that is the solid state hard drive, because it has faster read write features and so on. Now the 5th issue is battery life, and this of course depends on the kind of lifestyle you need. If you are somebody who spends a lot of time in the library and you need to use your computer at different points where you do not have access to your power cord, then you need more battery life, or you will need less battery life, and this is going to have a big importance in your laptop decision. So at a general point I would say 4 hour of battery life is recommended for most people who are students, so this should be something which you can target as a bare minimum. And do remember, the battery life will tend to fall with time, so maybe after a few years this may decrease to 3 hours or 2 hours, as the case may be. Now some people try to get laptops with even more battery life, but I'm not sure if that is particularly useful, because you can carry your power cord in your bag wherever you go, so that's not a big problem really. Remember, the battery life also means that the cost of the computer will go up. Now the weight of the laptop, generally it's recommended it should be lower than 4 pounds. Now some of the weaker students or who don't do much weight training can go for even thinner laptops, but again the prices will go up with thinness and weight reduction, because what happens is that the materials which are used for the lower weight laptops are more expensive, and so it turns out that the weight will be less but the price will be more. Now generally most people will be happy with 4 to 6 pound of laptop, so again take a estimate as to pricing versus the weight and look at your own personal weakness or strength to decide this point. Now number 7 is the size of the screen. So I would recommend a 15-inch screen here for most people. If you can afford it, go for the 17-inch screen, but the laptop sometimes becomes too large here, and it's difficult to put it in your bag and so on. Actually, I made the mistake of getting the 13-inch laptop, and this is too small, and so what I had to do is I had to get a very large monitor, and then I do most of my work on the monitor. But when you are a student, you actually have to carry your laptop around at different places. You may have to spend time in the library and in the different classrooms and so on, so you will not have access to your monitor, so it is best to go for the 15-inch monitor. And if you are somebody who has myopia, then you can go for the 17-inch monitor also, because you can essentially look at all the text in larger font. That's something I like to do. I like to see all the material in 14-point font or 18-point font if I can. Now finally, number 8 point, and this is most important, is that I think you should go for the Windows machines nowadays. And what has happened is that there are several softwares now which are more or less designed for Windows, and so you will get assignments. Your professors may ask you to use apps which are not there in Mac, and so you will be kind of left out. And this is happening more and more, especially if you are in data science and some of these fields. So I would certainly recommend going for the PC rather than for the Mac. Now in this video, none of this content is sponsored by anybody, so I'm giving you my personal opinion. I'm a huge Apple fan. I'm filming this on an iPhone, but do keep in mind that as far as PCs are concerned, there is a trend nowadays to go for PC or Windows again, because Windows is having a lot of good features which you can use. So this was my idea for a good STEM laptop. If you have any suggestions, you can mention them in the comment section, and if you have any particular problems you have faced with your laptop, you can also mention them so that people can benefit from that information. So I'll end this video here, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.